Good morning, everyone. So I'm Paul Grace. Again, I'm a member of the FIESTA team, and I work at the University of Southampton. I'm briefly going to talk to you about a few technical details to get you started working with the FIESTA platform. So in particular, how to get a user account that allow you access, how you then need to upgrade that account that will give you the privileges to access the tools you need to do experiments that will access the resources, and then a little bit more technical detail about accessing the APIs programmatically. So Tarek just mentioned one of the APIs, the IoT registry APIs. There are others. So again, you need to access those securely. So I'm going to talk a bit about security tokens and SSL configuration. The idea is to give you an overview, and if you need more detail, there's additional material available in the open call documentation. So basic process, user registration, how to actually get an account, a FIESTA IoT account. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to the Portal UI webpage. That's the central point of FIESTA, and there you need to just follow through the steps to register, and then once you've registered, you'll be able to log in. It's very standard practice. There's a video in these slides. Essentially, that's what the page should actually look like. You click on create an account, and then the important thing is you send your email, and it will actually then send you an email that you can with an authentication link. So if you click on that link, you'll get returned to the page that looks like this. You enter your details, pretty standard stuff, just your names, so that we can identify who you are, and then a password for your chosen username. And once you've done that, the account is actually created, and then you can there's a security question. But when you've done this, you can then just log in straight away. So you can test to see if it's successful or not. So if you try with what you've just created and you can't log in, then send us a ticket to say it's not worked correctly or my registration's failed. But it really shouldn't. It's very straightforward. Which leads on to that when you've got that account created, you're actually just given an observer role, which is essentially limited access to the FIESTA portal. So you can see a few things, what's available, but you actually won't be able to use the majority of the tools because you don't have the authorization privileges yet. So what we actually need to do is we need to assign you a different role, which is experimenter. This will give you the right to access the APIs and tools for doing FIESTA experiments. And there's actually a very simple process. Once you've created and registered your account, you then need to just send us an email at oc-support@fiesta-iot.eu. It's the OC support mailing list that you should be aware of already. And in that email, just state subject account upgrade, and in the body say you want to upgrade to an experimenter. The most important thing you need to put in that username that you've created, and also the registered email that you used. And what we do is we do a quick check that email address is one of the contact details that you've given to FIESTA. So if there are 5 people in your organization, you should have given us 5 email addresses of experimenters, and then we do a quick check against those to see if it's one of those, and if they are, we will upgrade to experimenter, and from that point on, we'll send you an email back saying the account is active, and then you can access all the FIESTA resources that you're allowed to use. Right, so that's the basics to get going, to get an account and start using FIESTA. As I said, the next part, I'm briefly going to talk about secure access to the APIs. As I said, FIESTA have got a number of APIs that you can work with programmatically. In the examples here, I'm going to use bits of Java code and Perl to highlight what you can do and how you need to use the security framework to access the resources. But you can use any method you like, any language you like, etc. Because we're just using HTTP API calls. As a quick disclaimer, we recommend not using JavaScript. So if you're going to do something in the browser, try PHP. That's just a recommendation. Right, so in this example, I'll show you what happens when there's no security added. So there's in the Java code there, it's trying to call the IoT registry API resources method. So it's just a simple get, and it'll actually fail. It'll actually send back a load of information that's asking you to log in to that method because you've not added any security information. So that's what happens when you call an API method and the security. So the process that you actually need to follow to invoke the APIs. So there are two elements. There's the authentication API service, and then there's the API that you want to access. So I'm going to use the same API, the IoT registry. So the first thing you need to do is you need to perform an authenticate method on the service to get back a session token, which is a single sign-on token, and then all you need to do is then pass that token to the API call that you're actually doing, and it should allow you and then give you back the correct response. And then, while you don't need to log out, we recommend logging out. So you can then call the FIESTA IoT authentication API logout, and then the session will be invalid. So if you then try to pass the token after logout, it wouldn't work, and you would need to log in again. Okay, so the important method. How do you obtain a token? So essentially, it's a simple HTTP REST call to the FIESTA IoT authentication URL, which is basically platform.fiesta. It's simple there. Platform.fiesta.iot.eu/openam/json/authenticate. You call post on that, and you pass two pieces of information in the header that's important: your username and your password. It's HTTPS, so it's not going to be observable. And what you'll get back is a JSON response with the token in the body, and it's under the token ID field in the JSON object. So you can just extract that and then use it in the future calls that you'll actually make to the FIESTA APIs. Note that the tokens can be used in different ways. So you can pass them as cookies. So if you're writing a browser application, you may want to pass the token using a cookie approach. If you're just writing standard code, you can pass the SSO token in a HTTP header, and I'll show you how to do that next. So it's really simple. So going back to the original call that we made to the IoT registry resources that failed, all we need to do is add a new HTTP header field, and the field's name's iPlanet Directory Pro in that exact format with those exact capitals PD and P, and then you just use the previously obtained token as the field value, and when you make that request, you will be granted access, and you will get returned a list of resources from the IoT registry API. That's the same code using cookies. So it's the same thing. You create a cookie with the field name iPlanet Directory Pro and the token, and again you can actually make the call and it will be successful. So the important point is the field name iPlanet Directory Pro. And then finally, to log out, again, it's a call to the authentication API. The URL is at the bottom of the curl there. So it's an OpenAM JSON sessions !_action equals logout. And again, you need to pass your token in the iPlanet directory pro field, and that will then invalidate the session, and you will no longer be able to use that token for any future calls. So it's a very quick overview of how to use tokens to programmatically access the FIESTA APIs. The final point is that all FIESTA IoT APIs are HTTPS, and they use Let's Encrypt certificates for access. So you typically need to configure the client system so that it will accept that certificate. You can download the certificate from the Let's Encrypt website. There's a link there, and then you. So this is an example in Java, how you import that certificate into the Java trust store. We do know now that Java 8 automatically trusts Let's Encrypt certificates. So if you're using, so I recommend using Java 8 if you're writing code in Java, and it will all be handled automatically. You won't need to set this up. We can provide support if you're using a different language to try to import the certificate to actually configure your SSL correctly. We don't write documentations for all the different methods, but we will try to help you if you want a different approach or are struggling to get the SSL set up correctly. So just for information, so far we've had lots of experimenters and nobody's really struggled to set it up. It's usually quite easy. And then the final slide is some frequently asked questions about sessions. So when you log into FIESTA, either via the portal or programmatically, the token that you're given is valid for a maximum of 120 minutes, at which point it will automatically expire, and any use of that token will return a 401 response, and which is you're no longer authorized to access resources. So if you're using a programmatic approach, you should renew the token with a new authentication call. If you're using the portal, you should see an error page with a 401, log in again, and you should get access. In the past, we have people that said they've received multiple 401 responses, and I don't know what I can do to get rid of them. This should be less of an issue now, but if it does happen, the approaches are you to try to get rid of the cookies. So you can do that by closing the browser, reopening, and then going to the FIESTA portal, and that should clean everything. If you're using Postman, you'll see demonstrations of using Postman later. Again, the approach is to clear the cookies there, but we do hope we've solved this issue, and you shouldn't get that problem anymore. So that was the information about the security framework. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.